Debate on Vote 9, Environmental Affairs and Development Planning, Western Cape Appropriation Bill.
Thank you. I now see the Honourable Minister, Minister Bredal.
Honourable Speaker, Honourable Premier of the Western Cape, Provincial Cabinet colleagues and members of the Legislature, the Head of the Department of Environmental Affairs and Development Planning, the CEO of Cape Nature, invited guests, colleagues and friends. In front of you is a bottle of water all the way from Beaufort West. This is not any water. It is water from the first direct water reclamation plant in South Africa. Feel free to drink it during the speech. I promise you it's clean, and congratulations to Beaufort West Municipality. Honourable Speaker, today it's my privilege to present the 2017 budget speech for the Department of Environmental Affairs and Development Planning, as well as for the Biodiversity Agency of Cape Nature. Recently, I was contacted by a member of the public who had a request. He indicated that he was unable to get a booking at one of Cape Nature's resorts. He claimed he had been trying for some time with no luck. I made some inquiries and was surprised to hear that many of Cape Nature's reserves are fully booked for an entire year. The popularity of these reserves has grown to incredible heights. This bears testimony to the excellent work being done to make our natural heritage in the Western Cape more attractive and accessible for all the people in the province. Achtbare Speaker, ek vind dit interessant om syfers te ontleed om 'n beter begrip te kry van die uitdagings in regering. Die ontledings word gedoen met die begrip van die drievoudige uitdagings van armoede, ongelykheid en werkloosheid, wat 'n enorme meelsteen om die nek van Suid-Afrika is. Ons doen wat ons kan om die meelsteen aan te pak, maar soms voel dit of ons splinters verwyder, terwyl iemand aan ons voete ekstra gewig te hang. Ek wil eerstens vir die lede daaraan herinner dat hierdie provinsie se totale begroting vir 2017-18 finansiële jaar sowat 60 miljard is. Hierdie Departement van Omgewingsake en Ontwikkelingsbeplanning ontvang vir die 2017-18 boekjaar R591 miljoen vir begrotingspos 9. Van die 591 miljoen word 287 miljoen omtrent die helfte toegewys aan Cape Nature. Die totale begroting verteenwoordig sowat 1% van die totale provinsiale begroting. Madam Speaker, a major challenge in government today, probably the biggest impediment to really changing people's lives in South Africa, is our country's weak economic outlook, as we have heard from Minister Meyer during the budget vote a few weeks ago. Continued financial constraints has a detrimental and significant effect on everything we try to do. The outlook is that South Africa's economy remains weak, influenced by international and domestic factors. Since the tabling of the 2016 main budget, South Africa's economic growth has significantly worsened. In the first quarter in 2016, economic growth contracted by 1.2% quarter on quarter. The latest data projects a growth rate in this year of only 0.3%, a bit less, and we were in a recession. Bear in mind that the National Development Plan calls for an average economic growth of 5% per year if we hope to bring our people out of poverty. We are growing at 0.3%. The Department's 2017 budget is therefore prepared within the context of this constrained economic and fiscal environment with very little additional resources available for allocation. Die departement se werk is om te verseker dat ons natuurlike erfenis behoue bly vir die toekomstige generasies en dat ons doelmatig en strategies beplan vir die toekoms. Hoe effektief ons dit doen, hang grootliks af van twee faktore. Eerstens, hoe ons regulatoriese funksie uitoefen en ons bestaande wetgewing administreer ter wille van besluitnemings. Tweedens, die kwaliteit van beplannings- en ontwikkelingsbesluitneming wat gedoen word om te verseker dat ons bydra tot die opheffing van ons mense se lewens. Behoorlike bestuur en bewaring van ons omgewing bly in fokus vir ons departement. Ons is te alle tye deeglik daarvan bewus dat ons nog besig is om hierdie land te herdefinieer en ons moet elke hulpbron en vaardigheid benut om seker te maak ons eindig met 'n produk aanvaarbaar vir almal. Madam Speaker, changing weather patterns are posing new risks for food security and economic growth in South Africa. In the Western Cape, rising annual temperatures are changing rainfall patterns, are placing an additional strain on already stressed water resources. This is increasing the likelihood of prolonged droughts. Parts of this province have been experiencing severe drought conditions over the past year with significant economic impact. As a province, we are accordingly being more proactive in addressing these challenges. One outcome of this drive to adapt has been the Western Cape Climate Change Response Framework and Implementation Plan for the agricultural sector, also known as the Smart Agri Plan. It is the first ever sectoral climate change response strategy for the province, and simply said, presents a roadmap for the agricultural sector towards a more productive and sustainable future. I am most proud of the work that has been done by the officials in this regard, from the department as well as officials from Minister Windy's Department of Agriculture. The current drought has put the spotlight on the important issues of water security and has led to water being identified as a provincial risk. The Sustainable Water Management Plan provides a framework for water management within the province. This plan, which has been developed and implemented since 2012, is being reviewed this year in order to reflect on the effectiveness of and implementation since its development. The phased development and implementation of the river improvement plans has been identified as a continued priority, building on the successes of the Berg River Improvement Plan since 2013. This work, in essence, aims to improve water quality and quantity in the Berg River through implementing river rehabilitation in the catchment areas. Madam Speaker, we estimate that alien vegetation clearing in the catchment in the Upper Berg River currently releases up to 26.5 million cubic meters of additional water per year into the Western Cape River system. The value of this water as a domestic untreated water at the entry-level tariff is nearly 240 million rand per year. This is a great investment, especially considering our current drought and the fact that the cost of alien clearing in the Upper Berg River from 2000 to 2014 was only 46 million rand in 2014 prices. It is no wonder, therefore, that the section of the Breede River has now been identified for rehabilitation as well. The Breede River project is being developed in-house this year in collaboration with key stakeholders, and implementation will commence in 2017-18. An economic assessment is being undertaken to establish the cost-benefit and possible opportunities for the reuse of treated wastewater effluent in the Berg River catchment area in the Drakensberg municipality. The department continues to take an active role in improving the living spaces of our poorest and most desperate communities through the ongoing leadership and implementation of the Western Cape Government's Regional Socio-Economic Projects, RCEP, and the Violence Prevention through Urban Upgrade VPUU programs. Honourable Speaker, these projects seek to make communities safer and better places to live. We will spend 38 million rand on the continued rollout of the RCEP VPUU program. We started these initiatives 2 years ago, and as promised, excellent progress has been made. In Worcester alone, some 30 projects have been completed, ranging from multiple-purpose sports courts to upgraded facilities around water points in informal settlements. Many projects such as youth centres, libraries, recreation nodes, splash parks and safe walkways are being planned and implemented in the towns of Vredenburg, Malmesbury, Paarl, Villiersdorp, and in certain areas in Cape Town, including Manenberg, Gugulethu Nyanga, and Khayelitsha. In the RCEP municipalities of Breede Valley, Swartland, and Saldanha Bay, it is expected that approximately 12.85 million worth of projects will be implemented in the 2017-18 financial year. Furthermore, it is foreseen that the RCEP program will be extended to between 2 and 4 new municipalities in the coming year. In the VPUU program, the implementation of specific infrastructure projects will commence in 2017-18, including a toy library and resource centre in Verliesdorp and Paul East, the Groene Heuvel Library Park, which will be developed in close collaboration with the Department of Cultural Affairs and Sports, DCAS. The VPUU program will also continue to contribute to the alcohol harms reduction game changer in Paul East, Gunya and Khayelitsha. Achtbare Speaker, deel van die provinsiale regering se plan om werk te skep is opgesluit in die groen ekonomie. Ons sal vanjaar 4,2 miljoen rand aan inisiatiewe gerig op hierdie groen ekonomie bestee. Ontwikkelingsbeplanning het die afgelope ruk groot veranderings ondergaan. Met die verandering in wetgewings Pluma en Lupa en die munisipale verordeninge, die harde werk en die aanpassing daartoe wat dit geverg het, word waardeer. Ek is trots om te sê dat die Wes-Kaap was en is die enigste provinsie in die land waar al die munisipaliteite en ons departement reeds die suksesvolle omskakeling voltooi het. Die werk behels in wese die verandering in die beplanningsverhouding, as ook die grondwetlike verantwoordelikhede tussen die 3 regeringssfere. Die rol van die departement het verander van een waar ons die reguleerder was, na die bestuur van grondgebruik, na 'n nuwe rol waar ons 'n meer fasiliterende, 'n ondersteunende en 'n motiverende rol vervul by die beplanning vir grondgebruik waardeur munisipaliteite gedoen moet word. Madam Speaker, we will this year also work on completing the 5-year review of the Western Cape Growth Potential of Town Study and the related datasets. This is an important strategic project meant to guide geographically focused interventions. When it comes to climate change, in a global context, on climate change has reached a catalytic turning point. On 12 December 2015, a key commitment was made in Paris at COP21 by all nations, including South Africa, to holding the increase in the global average temperature to below 2 degrees Celsius, above pre-industrial levels. This will require all nations to provide targets towards contributing to these emission reductions. Although the outlook is predominantly a dismal one, climate change also presents us with an unprecedented opportunities to leapfrog our development practices to be more just, equitable, innovative, and sustainable. The coast economy continues to be a focus of international and national economic development strategy. This is mirrored at a national level in the identification of the coastal economy as a focus of Phase 1 of Operation Pekisa. This area of work aligns closely with the green economy work which, for example, highlights estuaries as a source of significant economic value under consideration for investment potential. A welcome intervention by the National Department of Public Works in the coming year will be infrastructure maintenance and upgrading in the fishing harbours in a number of our coastal towns. The increasing waste generation in the province is impacting negatively on the already limited available landfill airspace. Changes in national legislation, such as the norms and standards for waste disposal, are escalating the cost of waste management and is placing significant financial pressure on municipalities to comply with the conditions of the environmental authorization. We remain hard at work in seeking the best solutions to address this major challenge going forward. Voor ek afsluit wil ek 'n oomblik gebruik om te noem dat die departement onder die bekwame leiding van meneer Piet van Zyl 'n skoon audit ontvang het. Cape Nature onder die bekwame leiding van Dr. Rasina Ouma het 'n ongekwalifiseerde audit ontvang. Ons kan hulle werklik gelukwens en 'n handeklap gee. Achtbare Speaker, dit is uitstekende werk en toon aan die publiek dat hul beste belange gedien word deur die amptenare van hierdie departement, sowel as die entiteite. Dit bly 'n voorreg om saam met die span te werk en ek wil vir al twee, vir Dr. Ouma sowel as vir Piet van Sail en hulle spanne wat vandag hier sit, gelukwens en bedank. Vir my as minister verantwoordelik vir hierdie departement is dit 'n voorreg en 'n eer om saam met hulle te werk. Ek dank u.
Thank you, Minister. I now see the Honourable Member Schaefer.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, 3 serious environmental challenges have been facing this province today. An increase in concern for the current drought in the province, the depleting freshwater resources with Cape Town as an example with only 17% usable water, and the need to secure water for the future. The reuse of water and water recycling is an opportunity but also a necessity. In the Water 2017 Market Intelligence Report, Green Cape has indicated that 94% of companies report water as a direct risk to their operations, the highest in the world. The total financial impacts relating to water reported by 10 companies in 2015 was 841 million. We know, Speaker, that this kind of risk will slow down growth and hamper job creation. The recent drought declaration by the Metro has allowed the City of Cape Town to reprioritise budgets and alleviate supply pressures in the immediate term. These include fast-tracking the Table Mountain Group aquifer and scoping a small short-term desalination project. Speaker, we're very happy to see a fruitful meeting that took place between Minister Bradell and the National Minister Mokunyane for Water and Sanitation. We're pleased to see that the National Minister has publicly supported the province and has agreed to come on board to help the city find solutions to the water crisis, with the potential of declaring further disaster areas in the Western Cape. This has been a relief after Mr. Rashid Khan, Regional Head for the Western Cape, denied to our standing committee that we were even in a crisis at all. Speaker, to the Minister, we know that a strategy steering committee comprised of key stakeholders, which include numerous provincial departments, relevant municipalities, Cape Nature and the agricultural sector, have been in place to guide the decisions made on the future of water solutions. We know that the Western Cape water supply system's water requirements will exceed the current supply in 2019 under normal weather conditions. Speaker, to the Minister, we understand that various feasibility studies, many that are already complete, have been done to decide which potential interventions should be implemented. Can you speak more to the type of interventions that these studies are talking about? Everyone is shouting desalination plants, but we understand that desalination of seawater will most probably be one of the last options due to cost considerations. Maybe the Minister can expand on that. But Speaker, the 2016 Water Market Intelligence Report reported that most water-related opportunities fall within the Berg and Breda waste management areas, as the Ministers talked about. The Breda River produces over 70% of South Africa's table grapes, apples and fynbos for international export. It is projected that water demand will surpass supply by 2019 unless we take effective measures to manage water supply and demand. The Berg River Improvement Plan put in action, as the Minister said, during 2013 to ensure the quality of water for irrigation and other general purposes has been very successful, and we welcome this vital project rolled out to the other important rivers such as the Breda River. So thank you to the Minister and his department for extending this important project to actually ease and ensure our export potential. Speaker, the public needs to be regularly campaigned, and children need to be made aware of water conservation from an early age in order to ensure long-term behaviour change. Water scarcity is a long-term problem we are facing, and I trust that Minister Bradell is consulting with Minister Schaefer to create campaigns that can be taken into schools. Within agriculture, Speaker, the Fruit Loop project, which makes use of satellite data to provide weekly information on actual crop water use to farmers to assist irrigation water management, needs to be expanded. We understand that 30% water restriction is applied to the agricultural sector, and while we fully understand the circumstances we find ourselves in, we are concerned about the potential job losses that this may result in.
Honourable Schaefer, kindly take your seat, please. Honourable Yankee, are you rising on a point of order?
in terms of Rule 5.6, can the member please desist from reading this speech? I really miss Rodney Lantert here.
Your comment is noted, Honourable Diana. You may proceed.
Excuse me. Thank
Honourable
you, Speaker.
Schaefer. We're not going to get stuck around
No,
the
definitely
debate.
not.
Thank you.
I'm sure that I would beat him on that one.
Kindly proceed.
To conserve water in agriculture, a further best practice methodology is being used by the province to improve land management practices in the face of climatic change and water restrictions. One of those steps is to ensure that sufficient infrastructure maintenance and upgrades are in place. And the Smart Agri First Action Plan has been developed to assist agriculture within the Western Cape to prepare and take a proactive step to increasing resilience in the face of climate change. Speaker, we welcome the collective effort by all levels of government and provincial departments to ensure healthy communication and consultation and ensure that a substantial reduction in the consumption of water goes forward. Speaker, I'd also like to touch on a program that Minister Brodell has mentioned that I believe deserves much more attention. The Regional Socioeconomic Project, the Violence Prevention and through Urban Upgrading Program, approved by the designation of the Department of Environmental Affairs and Development Planning as the lead department and coordinator of the program, while Provincial Treasury being responsible for the overall fiscal coordination. And this program embraces what I really call the whole of society approach. It's about partnering with active citizens, with partnering with communities and stakeholders to promote real social and economic inclusion and really reduce poverty. It provides practical application to building safe and sustainable neighborhoods, reducing social, cultural, economic exclusion of former informal settlements while improving the quality of life in these areas. We welcome this program being rolled out in other municipalities outside of Cape Town. The VPUU program has been implemented by the German Government Development Bank to extend a partnership aimed at bolstering violence prevention efforts in this province, with the aim also of improving living conditions but reducing crime at the same time. It's a transversal and intergovernmental program in the Western Cape. This extremely valuable contribution by the Germans of €5 million must be acknowledged, and we welcome the further rollout to areas of Manenberg, Hanover, Guguletunyanga, and Khayelitsha. Partnership programs like these reflect the Western Cape's motto of better together and shows how the whole of society approach creates synergies that state-driven approach by the ANC cannot achieve. Minister, this program must be commended. Speaker, I'd like to conclude with emphasizing this devastating effect of fires that have rampaged the province in these past few months. People have lost their lives and thousands have lost their homes, while in agriculture we see valuable farmland being decimated. I cannot stand here today without acknowledging the Disaster Management Centre and the work they do to protect the citizens of this province. We are indebted to their selfless efforts to save lives, homes, and livelihoods, and must encourage ourselves to work hard to prevent the environmental damage that causes fires in the future. Speaker, to the Minister and his department, Minister Brodell and Mr. Provincial, to Cape Nature, we really commend you and thank you for the incredible work that you do to protect not only the environment, but the people of the Western Cape. Madam Speaker, we support this vote.
Thank you, Honourable Schaefer. I now, Honourable Dianki, if I could call your member to present, I now recognise the Honourable Diana.
Speaker. Thank you very much for the opportunity to once again engage the House on the budget of this department. This debate comes at a time that we are still trying to absorb from the shock that took our country by surprise. To count few of these, the brutal rape and murder of 11-year-old Stasha Arendse from Tafelsig, whose naked body was found dumped in a bush in the area. Her death came at the same period where the body of 12-year-old boy, Nathaniel Davids, was found hanging from a fence in another bushy area near Netrecht train station. These developments can be linked to other similar cases of unused buildings, open fields, and bushy areas in the province being used as hub centers for criminal activity and dumping sites for dead bodies. This is a serious challenge which needs the attention of this department. Sadly, in this budget, you don't see the urgency to address this challenge. It also comes at a time when the Drakenstein Environmental Watch is up in arms fighting against the Drakenstein and Interwaste Incinerator, a project that is planned for Wellington by the Drakenstein municipality without proper public participation. Both MECs, Bridell and Mayor, know very well about this illegal project, which is planned to burn 300 tons of waste per day, which is a hazardous process that causes emission of toxic and other gases that can lead to cancers, infertility, and respiratory problems, but they are turning a blind eye to it. Moreover, other risks associated with the big project include contamination of the Berg River and agricultural land and contamination of food sources for the local community. Both of these are emphasized in the State of Environmental Outlook report for the Western Cape as serious challenge facing the province. A quick reminder of why we rejected the budget in the previous years. We pointed out that it lacked vision, respond to the needs of the people, talk about upliftment of communities and development of rural areas. In this year's budget, the above worsened. The total budget allocation for the next planning year of 592 million to the Department of Environmental Affairs and Development Planning is actually misleading, as the department only gets around 305 million. The massive decreases on various transfers and subsidies to municipalities for more than 31 million in 2016-17 year to only 26.5 million this financial year. Municipalities get too little support as they have capacity constraints, as is acknowledged by the department. Why the municipality of Swartland, that is one of the 30 municipalities, gets the lion's share of more than 6 million out of 22 million is unclear. Perhaps the MEC can share with us, because he was a former mayor of that municipality. Okay. It would be insightful to analyze the power struggles between DA factions playing out with petty politics like the unilateral declaration of a local disaster in the city of Cape Town to hide the embarrassment of not starting to save water earlier. This department is responsible to check on water quality, and the MEC also heads local government, but it looks like he too was sidelined by Mayor Patricia de Lille. More than 50% of the budget of this department is transferred to the Cape Nature, which we all know is another form of fiscal dumping by this department. It is a major cause for concern that on top of that transfers, there are further transfers to NPOs and other departmental agencies. It leaves one with a question: does this department only exist and survives by getting its job done by other parties? Cape Nature wanted to cancel a building upgrade development in the Kogelberg Nature Reserve at great cost and loss. This was due to a consultant that did not deliver on its work and timelines. A new contract or tender were to be awarded. This would be a serious, wasteful, and fruitless expenditure. This embarrassment was averted by the Provincial Department of Public Works that saw it for what it is: imprudent abuse or scandalous wastage of public funds. It just proves once more that Cape Nature needs to be kept on a short leash, and oversight over this entity needs to be tightened. The Standing Committee has a role of monitoring the implementation of this entity. We request steps must be taken to investigate the official or officials involved and or the defaulting consultant who failed to deliver on this expensive development. On the topic of a problematic entity, a new entity was created to act as implementing agent for the VPUU. It is not clear what the need is to create another rogue agency that must be nurtured like a baby and that gulps up funding. It also creates an extra layer of bloated bureaucracy and an additional entity to watch. A lot is said and bragged about the VPUU, but despite all the words, salad crime still increases sharply in all areas, and very little or nothing is done in the known murder and serious crime hotspots. And an inflicted area like Mitchell's Plain seems to be overlooked at best or deliberately ignored. That is why this budget is such a source of serious concern, as it does not identify which so-called poorer communities will get the promised visible services that is claimed to be delivered. Instead of contributing more to sustainable spatial planning, the VPUU so far only brings benefits to big business and developers. This development is mostly concentrated in Cape Town. This development is mostly concentrated in the Cape Town Metro, Bowland, and West Coast. What about the population of the Southern Cape and Karoo areas? The implementation of VPUU services should be sped up across all municipalities immediately. Saldanha Bay Municipality clearly gets too much focus in most programs and projects, with too little attention paid to struggling municipalities like Canaland, Oudtshoorn, and poorer people in places like Beaufort West, where I witness this regularly. A lot is said of the green economy that takes around 5 million, as well as of an environmentally sustainable and low-carbon economic transition. It sounds more like a theory with very little substance or flesh on the bone. In relation to the green and ocean economies, I wish to raise the matter of renewable energy. We know of wind and solar energy, and most of the provincial efforts are around these two sources. But the wind can stop blowing through turbines and the sun sets at night. The one constant and perpetual source of alternative energy is all around our coast, with vast moving water masses loaded with wave or current energy. It remains largely untapped. In this province, we have 5 universities and many technical or engineering with vast knowledge and experience. They could help to tap into this resource. On the environmental issues, we also need to get our teeth into intolerable gases. The efforts to decrease emissions must be intensified in areas like Bellville Starch Factory, Mossel Bay that suffers under fish processing and regular refuse fires, as well as the sulfur released by the petroleum plant in the western suburbs of the metro. Our people deserve quality of life. There are 11 ambient air quality monitoring stations that are moved around the province for years now. It sucks money from the budget, but proves no real problem. If there is nothing serious, rather shelve this project and use the money to deal with the unacceptable smells and gases that irritate and make the lives of people difficult. I referred to Mossel Bay's smoke emissions from fires. It reputedly emanates from illegal dumping at an unlicensed solid waste site in a nature reserve. It was brought under the attention of the department. One can only wonder how many more of such shameful practices still persist, despite efforts to regulate and regularize dumping facilities. Waste management still remains a source of concern, as more need to be done to get ordinary people to rethink, reduce, reuse, and recycle the rubbish we produce. The sorting at source needs to be popularized, and municipalities assisted to roll out collection services that would give push to the salvaging economy. At a principle and policy level, this department must come and explain why the Princess Flay issue is dragging on, where developers still want to deface a precious cultural and natural a natural resource. The rationale and guidance this department provided in the build-up of the controversial sale of the Tafelberg School site and the refusal to use it to bring affordable housing into business and residential areas must be clarified. It makes a mockery of any pontification on the integration of people, having workers closer to job opportunities and undoing the spatial planning legacy of apartheid. With all the regular and predictable fire seasons that kill hundreds of poor people in informal settlements, this department will do all a favor if it spearheads work to look into alternative and eco-friendly building methods for dwellings that could also be more fire retarding. This is not only necessary for environmental reasons, but also for development planning to assist. Development planning also strangely gets less money in Program 7. There is no indication why. It is most needed there as it is the most untransformed section. On the topic of transformation, the annual performance plan is thin on this vital issue. It sends a message that there is no hope yet to change this department right through. Perhaps we need political will or dedication to make this work. Some serious flags are also raised in this budget book. There are capacity constraints in compliance, monitoring, and enforcement. There does not seem to be a plan to ensure policing and agents like the Green Scorpions to be strengthened to do their jobs properly. Water is identified as a risk for planning in this province. Better use must be made of runoff and other sweet water, which is now just allowed to flow into the oceans. The priorities as determined are listed as agriculture, industrial, and domestic users that compete for this resource. From this, it creates the perception that animals on farms are more important than people to survive. This must be changed. The wasteful use and abuse of water in municipalities need urgent attention, and this department must give guidance. It is unacceptable that development is allowed unabated without focus on upgrading and improving water reticulation. The massive losses of drinking water into the underground also need to be addressed seriously. The safe reuse of wastewater in municipalities must be monitored and popularized. This starts with the inclusion of fully purified water into the supply systems in an ecological and acceptable sound way. The reuse of partially or fully treated is not a choice anymore. It could be supplied through a secondary reticulation system to gardens, parks, and sport facilities. We pay to treat water, but then we throw it into the sea or allow it to run off. This department has a role to play in this matter to better use grey water, treated wastewater, or effluent and stormwater. The prevention and cleanup of pollution in waterways and wetlands demand more attention. Our estuaries and river mounts are under extreme stress. This is a recurring matter on the agenda of this department that looks like it only treads water, but unfortunately it does not seem to make headway at all. I wish also to raise an unspecified matter in the budget that refers to support to youth centers. It looks like this support is very selective, as no support for the youth center in Beaufort West area was given to equip or maintain it. In fact, the National Department of Rural Development spent 52 million rand to supply this facility. Can we now count on this department to also lend a helping hand and a few rand in this regard? The department and the MEC will do much better to show more future progress in this department's budget. I hope we will see advance on this front next time. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Diana. Thank you, Honourable Member. I now see the Minister.
Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, to the Honourable Member Beverly Schaefer, thank you very much for your inputs, your leadership role within the Standing Committee. We also want to thank Rodney Lentent, who resigned, and wish him well in his business that is just started. A very important issue that you touch on, obviously, is the drought. I think it's on everybody's agenda currently. We definitely work now outside the normal conditions. But and I think it was Winston Churchill who said that never waste a good crisis. And I really think that this drought can turn out to be a good crisis, because all of a sudden, I think everybody starts to realize the importance of water, the source, the quality as well as the quantity. As a department, we've tried various programs since 2011-12 to communicate that we're actually in a long-term drought period. But it's very difficult to land that message till a big city like the city of Cape Town, till big municipalities are really facing a severe drought. Then all of a sudden people start to realize, everybody start to talk about it, and now we need to take hands to solve this problem. And I've got all the confidence within our residents, and I really want to thank our media. I think the radio stations, the media is doing great work to ask our communities to work with us, and that every single body, every person must do their little bit to save this resource. On the short term, every single person can make a difference. Then there's medium-term opportunities that we will need to look into, and that was one of the issues that we've discussed when we met with Minister Mokoena. That was the full flow augmentation scheme. How can we fast-track that? And we had a very positive engagement. The City of Cape Town was part of that, and I also want to thank them for their leadership within protecting the resource. A lot of the issues like desalination, and let me start off by saying that my personal belief is that we will pull through if we look at the whole resource, meaning desalination, recycling of effluent, our groundwater management, our aquifer management. There's not a single resource that will provide us with enough water so that we can enter into the future. Because we need to realize, and I still think, and I'm going to interact with the Standing Committee a lot on this, because I still think we need to do more to instill behavior change within our communities. My biggest fear is, as the winter rains will start coming, people will start opening their taps. Then we're going to run next year in serious problems. Serious problems. If we don't fill our dams up till 75 to 80% this year, we're going to run out of water next year. So we will have to have a long-term view on this. We also have called, and you will, I don't know if you've got the date, I think it's the 10th of May, but we will definitely give you the date, a water day. The Premier made the day available to us, and we will then invite stakeholders, experts on water, so that we can talk about the water and the future of water. Because as I said, we're in a 30-year water drought area.
Excuse me, Minister Bredal. You've just been affirmed by the Honourable Dianki. That's exactly what we need to do. But if I could ask you, Honourable Dianki, you could speak with the Minister after his debate. Thank you. You may proceed, Minister.
I also want, Honourable Speaker, I also want to thank the agricultural sector. They're a big water user, but they work with us from day one. We had various seminars, how to protect the resource, and agriculture has really stepped up, and I really want to thank Minister Windy and the Standing Committee of Agriculture for their leadership within that. We also, you've touched on the disasters and the fires, and I will touch on this more tomorrow in my local government debate, because disaster management is within that domain. But also Cape Nature plays a huge role. Cape Nature plays a huge role within protecting our biodiversity and supporting us within the disaster management domain. The Honourable Diana, this is a difficult one. Maybe I must start by thanking you for promoting me to Minister of Health, Education, Disaster Management, Local Government, Sports and Parks, Youth. So I don't know, colleagues, I don't think you, the rest of you have got any job left. I think I'm now the Minister of everything, because it seems like I need to do everything. Yeah, that can also be. The VPUU program, Honourable Speaker, the VPUU program, and we've explained it in the standing committee, it's funded by the German corporation, and part of their conditions is to use this consultant. We've got our own RCEP VPUU program that we manage, and we're more than happy to present any documents to the standing committee. There's no bias. We've asked the municipality to present to us, to the municipalities in this Western Cape, to present to us their plans to enroll into a program like the RCEP VPUU. There was an independent panel. I wasn't part of that. But I'm very glad that's what the municipalities got a share of it, because I know they will make it work. So, but there was no bias, there was no influence from my side, and I've got a clean conscience, so the member is more than willing to ask, and we will come and present. The Drakenstein incinerator, I'm not going to speak to this, but saying that we need to be responsible and we need to acknowledge the processes. We all understand the importance of public participation and the importance of people having a passion for the environment or having a passion for water or for animals, and they need to fight for their bit of the space within the economy. We as a government can't choose sides. We can't be a government that promotes the economy above the environment. It's both. We're a government of and. It's the environment and economic growth. The Drakenstein incinerator plant is going through a process, and people must participate in that process. I'm a bit worried if I see that a lot of people don't want to enter the space of public participation and want to get a shortcut into decision making. It won't happen. We won't allow that. There's a process. We participate. We go through. You will have an appeal right. And we, as a responsible government, will do the best to protect our communities and to see how we're going to deal with waste in the future. I've stated beforehand to the Honourable Duckmore that I try to grandstand. I will, in the future, or I will touch, and I said it in the past, that waste is going to catch up with us. We all know it. It's coming. And as a department, we've done a lot to, first of all, license all the dumping sites. Then, National Minister threw a curveball at us by the norms and standards, making it so expensive to open a new cell in Kalwyderskraal. I think it went up from 7 million rand to something like 22 or 24 million rand. And that's a problem for us. It's a huge problem for us. We must also move from, if we want to manage waste, we need to learn that we in this country actually don't do recycling. We're just separating waste. If you want to do proper recycling, you need to add value, and we need to still get there. Air pollution for us, it's crucial. But we will not manage air pollution by closing factories. Our role is to get the factories to operate within the international norms and standards. And that we will do, and we will expand on that program. On Kogelberg, I'm very proud what's happening there. We will fix it. It was not a consultant's problem. It's a land use issue that we have picked up that nobody was aware of. And we, a party and we a government that believe in the rule of law, and we will stick to that. Honourable Speaker, I want to thank my ministry under the leadership of Marius Durant for always being there and keeping us out of trouble. And I really want to end off by thanking all the colleagues here today for their support, their hard work, their commitment to protect the environment for future generations. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister. That concludes the debate. The House will be suspended.